You want to be somebody? Show me what you got. Once I figure out you really want to be somebody, then I'll pour into you. The whittling person is the persistent person, and it's brutal. So you need a bunch of tools to survive the whittling phase because you never feel like you're getting anywhere. You have to have goals. Not only goals, you have to have goals that are extremely specific. And then you have to have goals with pictures. You get so clear on your thought, you don't need faith.
Whether you're a person of faith or not faith, like, you need persistence. You need the grit to whittle every day. And regardless of the opposition from people, from financial institutions, from wherever the opposition's coming, you need to whittle, right? You actually need to push and persevere through. So we are continuing this conversation of the leader's furnace. We were just talking about it just before we got started today, of just what it's like to just have a conversation. And, we say try to act as normal or as you can in the process. But the reality is, it's just the story of a lot of the illusions that you've experienced in your life, and the experiences, the people, the situations that have arisen as you've been discovering illusions along the way. So, good morning, Rick. Really,
Good morning.
Yeah. Good to be here. Again, we're entering into our session 3, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about, really kind of jump into it, was your story. I think we were almost putting the brakes and going, hey, let's talk about this next time. You were 18. You were about to take a job at a boiler plant. We ended with the story of, how you started a family, planned, not planned. Some things were planned, some things weren't planned. Nonetheless, the Lord gave you a wonderful gift in your daughter. And then
Absolutely.
You have more family now as well, hopefully planned that time.
It was.
But as we go through that, I just wanted to kind of give you the floor, say, hey, what happened? You're 18, you go to work, and, we continue the story for us.
Graduate high school, and, we have Sonia, me, and Erica. And I wanted to go to work. I didn't want to stay home. I kind of wanted to get away from. I want to get busy. I want to get away from all the family things that were going on. Going to work was an exciting thing. So I finally get myself a job as with a boiler company, and the only job that was available was a janitor. So I was fine with it. I didn't really care what it was, and it was in Indianapolis, Indiana, with Ellis Corporation. So I get this job as a janitor. And it's about 30 minutes travel time each day up there. And, it was, I never had a full-time job before. So I was very excited and about the opportunity. And, you think about that, I was excited to be a janitor. And, but I was, and I think so many times I was excited about the opportunity, not as a janitor, but it was an opportunity. So get my job, and I'm working every day. And I start to see some more illusions. I thought for sure my family was the only mess around, because it was the only mess I'd been involved with for the most part. Then I went to work and I saw other things like that. There are other dysfunctions and other people that were doing things they should not do. And so I'm doing my little janitor thing, and kind of watching what people do and how they behave, and it was just kind of peculiar. Because I was working, doing my job, and they were like, laughing and talking and cutting up and hiding and not working and trying to get out of work. So many times it was kind of terrible to watch. It was disenchanting as a optimistic 18-year-old American kid. I'm like, I'm sure everybody wants to carry the flag up the hill and everybody cares. And it's like, wow, that was found to not be true. Everybody was trying to get by versus get ahead, it seemed like. And I found that to be, at 18 years old, peculiar, because, the job was the vehicle. The job was the money potential. And I was making $4 an hour. So get there, go to work, doing this, doing that. And, they'll put me with different people. And I started to notice different crew perspectives. They put me with a certain crew, and they would try to get through the day and minimize. And they'd put me with some other crews, and we'd be exciting. It'd be fun. So we're each one's a little bit of a sampling of kind of this red, yellow, green thing. At the time, I didn't know what the red, yellow, green was, but I was kind of seeing red, yellow, green leadership, and the green leadership was exciting. The red leadership was just terrible. Some people liked it, and unfortunately, that was about 45 years ago when I was there. And I had the opportunity to go back and visit, and I kind of say thank you to the owner of that company. It's very good to me. And I saw the same people doing exactly the same thing. And it was amazing to think I had come from the janitor's position to this 1% club in the boiler industry. And it was almost sad. It was exciting at first to feel good about how I had climbed up the hill, but the excitement was kind of taken away by a sadness of they just stayed there. Mm-hmm. They didn't change, and so this janitor thing's going on. And after 3 or 4 months of being this janitor, the president brings me in his office. And I'm like, man, here we go. I'm not sure how to be a better janitor, but being a janitor is kind of technical. This thing called wet mop and dry mop, and trash bags are different. Okay, all these things matter, and there's a little bit of truth to that. And but I was a good little janitor, and he sent me down, and I thought there was a problem. And he's like, Rick, what the hell's wrong with you? And he's kind of messing with me a little bit. And I'm in this president's office, and I'm a $4 an hour janitor, and 18 years old, very first job. And he's like, I don't understand you. This janitor thing, just tell me what you need. It's not a big deal. Whatever you need, I'll adjust to it. I'll take care of it. He's like, no. He's like, there's something going on here. He's like, you do a job in 3 hours that I paid 3 other people 8 hours a day to do. And he's like, I don't understand why you do that. He's like, because those other people that have that job, they burn up all 8, mm-hmm. and you take 3. And you come to me and go, what's next? What's next? What's next? And why? I'm thinking right here, this is some kind of like psychology class thing going on. If I answer it incorrectly, I'm going to lose my job. And I'm like, well, it's a 3-hour job, and it probably will be about 2.5 hours over the next month. And I'll need more to do. And I need to clean your shop up, work on your trucks. There's other thing I can do for you. And he just kind of freaked him out that his 18-year-old did not need to be supervised. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think it's about your skill set and about, your education. No, it's actually about the trust. And that right there was a moment where a person that had all the means to take me up the hill trusted me. And I didn't know what was going on because I didn't play it out. It wasn't a game. It was just good-hearted. I work for you. What do you need? I'm a 6, so I'm pretty loyal. I was very, committed. He was the boss. I was committed to him. But right then, this millionaire guy took me under his wing. Mm-hmm. And then I, instead of being a janitor, he had some trucks that had issues. And I told him, it's like, I can work on your trucks because I'm used to, I kind of grew up in a dirt floor garage in Martinsville, building cars. We didn't have concrete, so we laid on plywood because it was the dirt floor garage. So I said, we can fix all your stuff. And I said, I can fix your engines. I can paint your trucks. I can fix your trailers. And he was like, well, let's get started. And then I got 8 hours a day, then 10 hours a day, and 12 hours a day. And the whole time, this trust is building. But I just didn't know what was going on. It's another kind of an illusion, but a beautiful illusion. I see people at PMI that kind of go through the same thing. And it's wonderful that I started off as a janitor because, I have a lot of respect for people that start at the bottom. I know what it feels like. It's lonely. It's scary. You'd never think you're going to be anything. So I treat them a little different. I try to go out of my way a little bit to be more optimistic, more positive, to let them know that, hey, just because you're starting here doesn't mean you have to be there. And mm-hmm. PMI knows where I came from. Mm-hmm. So worked on the trucks.
Just before you move on from that, the illusion is just because you started where you started doesn't mean you have to stay where you started.
No, but if you get around red or yellow people, mm-hmm. they're going to teach you. So we have a sampling going on. I didn't even know what was going on, but they were trying to talk me into slowing down. Mm-hmm. They were trying to talk me into take 8 hours. Mm-hmm. What's the hurry? It's all, it's all about the Benjamins. Paychecks on Friday. And I'm like,
the owner of the company was so used to that. He pulls you aside and he's like, why aren't you doing the same thing as all these red and yellow people are actually doing?
He's used to mistrust. Mm-hmm. He's used to not being able to trust his team. Mm-hmm. And so with me, I'm like, I want to be trusted. I want to just turn me loose. Okay. Let me go. So,
how long did you fix up his cars and engines? And
that probably went on for most of it was ran in 6-month cycles. It's kind of weird to think it was only 5 years, but I was there for 5 years. And, probably 6 months on the vehicles. Then I was practicing welding at night after work. And a lot of people say they want to be a welder and they practice for 2 weeks and quit. Well, I practice for 2 hours every night after work, every night for 5 days a week.
So you're putting in your full work day doing the fixing up of the engines and the cars and the painting, and then you were practicing welding on top of that at the end of the day.
It's kind of like when people go to college. It's like, you got to put in the extra effort. You can't just. So I didn't want to be the janitor, and I didn't want to work on the trucks. I wanted to go out with the guys in the field operations, because that would be a pipe fitter and a welder and a rigger and a crane operator, because that looked like fun. It was exciting, and but I had to earn my right, because they all kind of, I was in the shop and all, and being the janitor, they'd kick the trash can over and pee on the floor and be like, "Hey, how's that for you there, janitor boy?" I mean, it was amazing to watch it. It's like, "Hey, janitor, I got something for you over here." I appreciate that, buddy. They didn't realize at some point I would come to power. So them boys that knocked over that trash can, peed on the floor, eventually they worked for me. And I'm a counterphobic 6, right? So we made sure we worked that stuff out real well. A little bit later on, we made sure they may have peed on the floor and I cleaned that up, but I peed on their career and they had to clean that up. So anyway, so there's crazy things going on. And the $4 an hour I was making $4 an hour. And wasn't paying attention to it, just working with all my heart. I wanted to be somebody. I didn't want to have a job. I wanted to have upward mobility. So, going. And while this is happening, people are seeing me. And I don't really pay attention to that, but they're like, 18 years old, why does that guy work like that? How can he work on the trucks and the cars and be a janitor? So there's a little bit of respect growing. Now, the reds and the yellows, they're kind of laughing, joking, cutting up, telling me to slow down. Why are you trying so hard? Listen to these people's language.
I remember the first time that I heard that word rapport, and it was explained to me by the director of the building that I lived in college. And he's like, "Do you know what it means to have rapport?" And I was like, "Report? Like, I can give a report, He's like, "Rapport." And he's like, it's the mixture between having trust and respect, because you've consistently, as a person, built trust and respect. He's like, it's almost like the fame or the kind of like who you are known to be in your community, the rapport. And so you're saying, hey, as you are moving through from janitor to, a person that kind of can do a lot of different things, mechanic or painting, you begin to earn trust and respect because of your consistency and your work ethic, and then showing up. But it's not even that celebrated, nor, it's not even welcomed by your peers.
Well, it's mostly the reds and the yellows. It was so sad that it was almost like they were worried about the competition of it, versus, hey, I'm just a kid trying to get ahead. They wanted me to slow down to equal them. And there would have been no good from that. You only want to equal the behavior of the greens, the reds and the yellows. So, yeah.
You have a moment where you are finally get to go out into the field. And you have a moment where I think you guys go away for a trip. Can you speak to that transition of becoming a welder, pipe fitter person, and the beginning of seeing that face to face of?
It was amazing. So, but a little bit of a sidebar. When I first got the job, they forgot to give me keys to the building, but I knew how to break in to about anything at age 16, 17, 18, and finally, they're like, "Hey, Rick, do you got any company keys?" I'm like, "No." It's like, "Well, how do you get in?" It's like, I just break in every morning. They're like, "Well, how do you do that?" And I told them how I got in each morning, climbing across the crane rail. They're like, "We'll go ahead and give you some keys." I'm like, "You can give me keys. You don't have to give me keys. I can, I know how, I'm pretty street smart, and, I know how to work things out." They're like, "You don't have to break in every morning. We'll give you keys." So I
forgot my key card this morning, so that would have been helpful if we knew how to break into your place. I'm
absolutely.
Sure you have higher level
I'm a 6,
security.
Yeah, exactly. So we have all that covered. But back then they weren't 6s. They were just like aloof. Just fun stuff. So as I'm welding and practicing, I felt this is just crazy to watch this stuff. There was, out of 15 people in the shop, 14 of them were walking past me saying, "You suck. That weld looks like crap. You'll never be nothing. I mean, it's so ugly. You need to quit working so hard." Just negative comments and ugly comments. Nothing about how to make it better. You're never going to be anything. Why are you trying so hard? And it was just disenchanting. So all these illusions are starting to happen. Now I'm a 6 and I'm not really a people person. So I am a people person in the idea of the people person as a 6, but the connectivity is hard for me because I've learned to distrust people at different levels. So this is going on, just making it worse with the distrust. They're kind of beating me down and all this stuff. So it's like, hey man, you're your tribe, I'm my tribe. We'll make sure we keep a real nice gap in there. But then there was one guy that would walk past and he'd say, don't quit. Everybody goes through that. If you quit, Rick, you'll quit on yourself. Just occasionally. Now, what he was doing was he had seen so many times where people were practicing welding, but they only did it for a week or two. And then they quit. They were a come on strong, don't last long type of thing. Well, I was doing it every week. And this went on for like 5 months. And after the third or fourth month, he was a very smart guy. Once I earned the right to show my level of commitment, he jumped in and said, let me show you some things. But he wouldn't do it at first. This guy was a leader. And I had to earn this right. He wasn't just going to come in there and rescue me. You want to be somebody? Show me what you got. Once I figure out you really want to be somebody, then I'll pour into you. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew I liked this guy.
This is not the owner. This is just another guy that works there.
It's another guy.
Nice.
It's a green guy. He's one of the green guys of the cruise. And
the influence of somebody who's not the owner, but is actually bringing a positive or even, proactively positive or reactively positive attitude to the job, right? The green guy. Yeah. What was his name? Do you remember?
He was a leader. His name was Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob Beavis.
Green Bob.
Green Bob.
Okay.
But it was good. He was nice, and he was he was a rowdy pipe fitter. You could just tell he'd been around for a while, and he was kind of a biker guy. But he knew how to keep it on the rails. But he also knew how to get off the rails too. I learned a little bit later. We had a little bit of fun. But so he's showing me this stuff, and one of the hardest parts of it was after the third or fourth month, he said, Rick, let me show you how to adjust the welding machine. And I'm over here welding, and the welding machine was improperly set for 3 months. But I was persistent. I just kept staying with it. So instead of quitting on it, because it was making the welds ugly, but it was an impossible. The welding machine was set so bad you couldn't make it look good. But I didn't quit, and I persisted, and so he walks over, and the machine had to be set in reverse polarity, and he adjusts the machine. Next thing you know, I go from being struggling Rick into 3 days later, like a really good welder, and I couldn't believe it, but I didn't quit. I persisted, so that's a story about everything. You just can't quit. You got to keep on going. If you quit, the first quit's on yourself. You can't quit because of others making you quit. If you quit, it's your fault. It's not their fault. So next thing you know, now the welding's looking good. Ooh. And the people making fun of me aren't making as much fun because now they're like, ruh-roh, got a little emerging dude here. Okay. And some people consider that a competitive situation. So now that I can weld, I take the certification, I fail at first, take it again, succeed with it. I tell people here the same thing. It's like just part of it. People here, they fail. Oh my God, no, I failed mine too. So some of these are good lessons about instead of being like this honor student, I had to see all these ugly things, and like other people do, I had to persist and get through it. So
there's a couple of things that I want to maybe highlight. One, there is a concept of whittling away at things that we've talked about before where, you have I don't know if that was my picture or yours, but we're sitting at 5 a.m. downstairs, and you're talking about, we were talking about having a hand knife and having this big oak tree and just whittling away at the oak tree till it comes down. And for you, it's not even like people have to take big axe swings at it. It's just whittling away at it, and you'll get it. Right. You talk about this when it comes to vision boards, to having clarity of thought and a singleness of purpose on the things that you're doing. You're just whittling. And we can see the origin of that, or, some of the symptoms of the origin story for you of just being able to whittle away at things. Right. Can you speak a little bit more to that? What are some of the things that are in play? I can think of a couple of people even in my life right now who are in that early stages of learning to whittle, learning to take little bites out of it every day, and not give up on, the task at hand. What are the things that go through your mind? What are the concepts or even some of the things to remember as you're doing that?
Wow. Yeah, that is that's a very important phase of it. I didn't early on learn about books, and I have a dyslexia. But Think and Grow Rich is the book of one of the books that covers that really well. I didn't ever read it because I have trouble reading, but I listened to it like 35 times. Persistence is critical. I mean, you really have to be persistent. And so we're talking about, and most people want to go in and take a axe to it, just cut it down and be all excited. The whittling person is the persistent person, and it's brutal. So you need a bunch of tools to survive the whittling phase. The whittling phase, because you never feel like you're getting anywhere. And the especially with us sixes, our head's our enemy to a certain extent. Always telling us you're not getting anywhere. It's too slow. Give up. Quit. There's this noise happening, and all people have it, but us sixes especially have it. So you need some tools to overcome that. So goal setting is really important. You have to have goals, and not only goals. You have to have goals that are extremely specific, and then you have to have goals with pictures. And then each week you have to do a thankfulness list. And then when you're getting your butt kicked, you have to do a catharsis. If you don't do this is the order of things for surviving the hill climbs, because everybody stands at the bottom of the mountain and says, I want to climb it. Okay, well, without these things right here, you get up 25% up the hill. Everybody, 95% of them peel off and go back down. But if you don't have the purpose right and the belief system right and the benefit of, and I'm a visual learner, the idea of the goal is one thing, but you have a picture of it, it's another. Mm-hmm. And
it's faith at work.
Absolutely. And sometimes I apologize to the Lord. I don't think I'm that faithful. This lets you manufacture some faith. It's like, I want to be honest about that. You get so clear on your thought, you don't need faith. But faith would be another thing to add to that. Mm-hmm. You see that because at some point the Lord's going to intervene and say, don't forget about me, Rick. That makes sense, because what will happen is it'll break down eventually and be like, I got the last 4 or 5 months, I got a little reset there about, hey, over here. Makes sense. Over here is where this is happening, not happening because you know how to do this really well. So
clarity of thought and intent really maximizes what Rick is able to do or what I am able to do. But when you add faith to it, it sort of begins to multiply, right? Because it goes, well, when you are weak, then I am strong, is what he says. And his power is made perfect in weakness. We are actually able to experience this incredible fruitfulness that can come from actually laying some of those things at his feet. The magic here, though, and some of the things that you have been leaning into is you've put pictures on the wall for the last 40 years and experienced seeing those things come to fruition. And you have works, and now you have faith. And you're beginning to, in this era of your life, really blend those together. So it's sort of a new era where we're yet to see just to what degree there's fruitfulness there, right? But there is beginning to be fruitfulness already.
Part of it is there's a process. And if you don't get that process done correctly, there's self-defeating elements to it.
Yes.
It breaks you down early and you give up early. So with me, the ADHD early on, not really having anybody to teach me about it. The family, seeing these things at work, just like, I'm not going to quit. No matter what. I'm not going to quit. I'll perish before I'll quit. So the reason some of these things we can talk about them without me having gone out and gotten formal education is because I've learned it on the street. I didn't learn it necessarily through a book. It was just, it was lonely. I was by myself. I didn't have some of the people that I piling mentor here. They're like, Rick, how did you do it without a mentor? Well, that's what makes me so good at it. I'm their mentor, and they can count on me. They can come back to me when they're hurting and all of that stuff. And I can give them process. Well, I didn't have that.
Yeah. We always get a mentor to build out some of the areas that aren't easy to us. And so for you, you've been able to build out other areas of your life, but the persistence, the ethic, the work, that's the stuff that you're gearing almost in your story. They kind of lead to you being strong at those things, right? Execution, ops, right? You're like, I got you, right? It's the other side of it that actually allows you to, it's the build out for you. So we all have a build out, right? On the people side of things or on the process and systems and work part of things, we always have a build out.
Well, it's kind of with me being a counterphobic 6, it's a mess. I knew I was messy, and I knew I had a big downside to me. I just didn't know I couldn't identify it early on. But it's just like, for me, it was like, I wanted to be really nice and how you doing? I was really friendly, really loyal. And then after they peed on the floor and knocked the trash can over and give me some trouble, I'm like, I think I'll set your truck on fire and forget I did it. Makes sense. Is your truck burning outside? I hate to see vehicle fires. Okay, but is your truck burning? Oh, wow. You need to call the fire department, put your truck out. Wow, that's a big loss. I hate to have that happen. There's a couple of boys that played around with me when they were, when I was 18, 19, and 20, and I never stole their tools. I didn't. I just put them in the dumpster. I mean,
we're past the statute of limitations, so we're in the clear.
That's not theft.
Yes,
that's disposal. I mean, it's technically different. So what happens is this chaos of the counterphobic six is at some point it's like, I mean, the further you push me down, the worse it's going to get on the backside, because I'm just going to come back at it with the ultimate intensity and remembering what you did on the way back. Now, these are good things, but they're also bad things. What I mean by that, now that I'm 63. A lot of people say I need to quit being like that. Let's, hey, Rick, don't try to square up later. Just give it to the Lord. But it helped me climb the hill, because it was just these people were just ripping me off and abusing me, just crazy stuff. So
it's not either or. I think it's both and. There's a moment just to really capture the gold of what you're saying is there is a need for whether you're a person of faith or not faith, like you need persistence. You need the grit to whittle every day. And regardless of the opposition from people, from financial institutions, from wherever the opposition's coming, you need to whittle, right? You actually need to push and persevere through. And if you can include faith in that, it's even better, right? There's a moment where David actually, it says that he's in the cave, he's being persecuted by his own people. His village has been ravished, and the king is after him, his people are after him, and it says that David strengthened himself in the Lord. But that is David needing to find faith, have strength in the Lord, and then get back out there and begin to whittle again, right? And so it's a both and it's a tension that we experience in our life every day. But for some leaders already have made it or arrived or have a different level of things that they're doing. But there's a lot of people kind of in the era that you're talking about, that 18 to 20-year-old era, or, somebody starting their business or their work in their 20s right now. That's, it's a word of encouragement of going, hey, it actually requires you to have a really clear goal, to have specific pictures around that, to have a mentor that'll come along with you, doing catharsis, and then having faith as a kind of this bundle of sorts, a starter kit of sorts to actually get there. Absolutely.
And a lot of people, they don't realize that's why they have trouble going up the hill. It is they're either the mentor didn't tell them. A lot of mentors, all of us go as far as we can, but some of us have gone further than others. And so if you have a mentor that went halfway up the mountain, it's not a problem. He can teach you how to get halfway up. But some of us, we've been up a little further up the mountain. Hey, we're going to teach you some other things. We're going to teach you how to hang on a little further, because and then you have some people in here with the fact that I am a 6 and I can do without social connection lets me go up faster. A lot of people that have social connection, they spend a lot of time interacting and not being independent. So it's a complexity. So the people that are like great people are hanging out with the group, and that's wonderful. But at some point, the group won't go but so far up the hill, and you have to separate yourself, which is extremely lonely. So that the Enneagram 6ness helped me out a little bit, where the other Enneagram numbers that are more connective, the 2s, 3s, 4s, things like that, with them, they're going to bring that group up the hill. But at some point, the group can't make it all the way up the hill. It's not a bad thing. Some people just don't have the commitment, don't have the skills, just don't want to work that hard. So you have to learn to separate yourself, but not in a superior way, but in a way that is go back and clean that up a little bit. Hey, I want to win, but I want you to lose. That makes sense. I don't want to go to the top and leave you at the bottom.
Yeah. This is so mind-baffling and confusing the first time your eyes are open to it. We say, open the eyes of our heart, Lord, right? That he would take the scales off our eyes. And that's to the gospel, but also to the reality of this life. I remember going to Atlanta in 2017 or so. And I remember the first time that I experienced the 5 voices and the creatives or the pioneers or the guardians, creative pioneers, and these thinker people. And the first time that I realized that there are feelers and thinkers. And for such a long time, I had actually just learned to lean into being around feelers. I was around nurturers, connectors, creatives. I lived in a house in college that was filled with creatives. It was just me and a bunch of guys, like a guy behind the camera, just hanging out, and just doing life together. And then really being in a completely different tribe from all those nurses, engineer people, marine biology kids who were like, they're not like us. They're thinkers, and they were loners.
Yes.
But man, were they smart, and were they able to sink their teeth into information, and that they know things. And you get a little older and you get into different spaces, and it actually becomes really daunting because you're like, what do we talk about? I don't even know should we do chemistry or, and you start to realize that there's these different words around connection, competence, character, chemistry, credibility. And so understanding what people are looking for and what they need in order to connect, to build trust, to have influence, right? And not come in too strong. And that it's really important just to call it. It's really hard or confusing or mystical what's at work until you can say it out loud, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's not even like we're that different. There's an adapter kit in order to connect.
God-made world, not a man-made world. And that stuff is so confusing because you can't, nobody means to do it, but you approach it from your perspective. And there's multiple blind spots happening and you don't even realize it. So complicated. And then you get to a certain point and you realize you're winning with, so to speak, 1/3 of the people, but you're simultaneously losing with 2/3. Now this right here is where, you really go to the Lord. You're like, this is madness. It's like, I won, I made it up the hill, I did everything, Lord. I'm successful, I have a family, but now I'm different. Mm-hmm. And they don't like me because I'm this and they're that. Now that right there is kind of a what's that called? On the chart, the point of despair.
Mm-hmm, the pit of despair.
Pit of despair. So there's a pit of despair happening and you're like, wow, how am I winning and losing simultaneously? Mm-hmm. And then this is where the love comes in. It's like in the end, there are but three things: faith, hope, and love, and the greatest is love. So now success has to sit down for a second, and you got to go work on the love and the connection, because those people are so different. When I hang out with people, like for example, you're a 4, okay, and you're a little bit of a different 4, but when I'm hanging out with people like that, I'm sweating. I'm just like, all I want to do is meet, do a list, and go to work. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, we want connection. We'll do the list later. I'm like, no. I just want to meet and leave and go do the list. You see that? And so these things are colliding all the time. And this is where the Enneagram of the 5 voices really start giving you clarity on what's going on. And then all at once, I've been to the top and I was successful and I made all that money. Now I'm like, now all the way back at the bottom again. Mm-hmm. I'm like, geez, Lord, I wanted to win. Like, well, you won one piece of it. Now you got to go back and there's another piece of it. The ultimate piece of it is the alignment with him. But at the end of the day, now we're back in. I'm a welder, I'm a fitter, I'm a superintendent, I'm a family guy, and I checked all the boxes for success, but I alienated 2/3 of my relationships. Mm-hmm. Most people say, well, that's not my problem. Like if I'm an Enneagram 8, and this is not all 8s, but a less evolved 8, is like, look, I win, you lose. What's the big deal? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Sorry for you. There's winners and losers, and I'm winning, you lose, and have good luck. Take a seat in the back. Well, you have to go back and clean that up a little bit, because that doesn't bring the community together. There's a community of people that are involved here. And, I've had to, and you've taught me this in the safety meeting, I was heavy on my Enneagram 6 counterphobic. And now that's when I start to do that. I'm like, stop, Rickett, because I'm losing my nurturers and connectors. Every time I say this, follow the rules, be strong, be tough. They're like, well, I want to have a relationship. I want to be strong, but I don't like the way you're saying that. Mm. So, I'm kind of in that phase right now where I got to make those connections and slow down a little bit. And it's harder than welding and fitting, because I had control of myself back then. I don't have control of my community, So a lot of people at PMI will say, things like, why do you spend so much time with your people? Why do you let them tell you about their adversities in their life? Well, these are all connections. You get that life story, and especially the adversity side of a life story, out on the table. People are connected in the pain. They're not connected in the gain. Yeah. So when we sit here and say, we put metrics out here, I won this, that separates us. It's like a competitive relationship. When we talk about, I haven't had cancer, but let's just say I know somebody had cancer and I had cancer. Man, we are connected. We're going to spend a lot of time. We're going to go to lunch. We're going to talk about how we endured and how we survived that, how many thousands of prayers we had. So we're connected in the pain. We're separated in the gain. And you got to go back and say, Lord, here it is again. There's so much to it. But
man, you're talking about drivers, right? That some of us are gain oriented, some of us are pain oriented. And when we are able to actually discover those drivers, we realize where our choices come from. The choices I've made along the way. We say our behaviors are just our leadership behaviors are a makeup of nature, nurture, and choice. Choice comes down to, do you make choices based on pain or do you make choices based on gain? Now, intuitive people like you and I, we make choices based on gain. This means this, which means this, which is going to get me this. And it is very future oriented. Whereas some of the present oriented folk might make their decisions based on pain. They're like, hey, currently, I don't want the pain that it requires. So we're going to avoid that pain, or we're going to out of fear of, it could be either or, right? But it could be out of fear of missing out on reputation or influence or power or losing face. And so there's all kinds of reasons why people show up. One of the ahas that we had a couple of years ago was everybody gets out of bed. Their why is different every morning. A pioneer might be like, I'm going to win today. Whereas a nurturer might be like, I get to take care of my people today. And that win is very different. And those two couldn't be more different from each other. And they go about their work in a very different way. And they go about talking to each other in a very different way. We'll cover the voices here in a little bit. I want to hear about the rest of Ellis, though. There are some moments where you get into crews, and we wanted to talk a little bit about labor. What happened? What else happened at Ellis as you graduated out of or moved on or advanced from mechanic, painting? How do you end up in a crew?
So, the shop mechanic, janitor, they're like, leave me at the shop. Nobody wanted me. But once the welding started, they all needed welders. So that, of all the things to learn, that's the thing to learn in our industry. Because once you learn how to weld, then they'll take you with the other crews, and the other skill sets are picked up by the welding. So they saw me welding, and I got good at it. And they're like, wow, this 18, 19, I was the youngest certified welder in the history of that company. So now all at once I'm kind of becoming this kid. It's like peculiar kid. Like, what's up with this kid? And people are, and the green people are like, hey, you get a little break here. We'll take you on our crew with us. And then they put me on the crew, and I would weld for them. And then while I was welding, the green people would teach me fitting. The red and yellow people would be telling jokes and talking about how to take a long lunch, how to get off early, how to scam, how to rip off the organization, so to speak. It's amazing to hear this stuff, but these are real things. So, I'm starting to see this good crew, bad crew thing. So I'm now leaving the shop, going out, I'm welding on jobs, and I loved it because I'm my loyalty thing. And as a six, I just get out there and be with the guys, and they were fun, man. They were wild and crazy. Just, man, we were riding the line and going to jail or dying daily. It was awesome. We were doing some stuff that we it's good to still be here. So all these things were happening, some wild and crazy guys. And fun stuff, some people with better habits than others, and some people you want to be with. You could just tell some of them were fun crews without a future, and some were crews that were future oriented that had discipline. And it was weird because I'm 18 or 19. It's kind of peculiar noticing this, but I want to go with these people because I can just. It's not that I dislike the reds and the yellows. They're a blast. They're a lot of fun. You just tell it's not going to go anywhere. It's kind of a get by day, not a get ahead day. So seeing all this stuff going on, and then do the welding. Welding takes a while to get good at it, and a lot of people were kind to me and helped me get good at it. Then after the welding, learned pipe fitting. Spent pipe fitting for a while, and then crane operations, because the piping modules, you'd make them and have to hang them. To learn crane operation, learn how to run a crane, then become a foreman, then eventually become a superintendent. But it was so cool to interact with all those kind of rough, tough dudes, man. I really enjoyed that. Sometimes as we do this, our conversations can maybe feel a little bit judgmental, or we got it figured out, and they don't have it figured out. I don't want it to really come off like that. This was a beautiful journey, and I enjoyed. There's a lot of learning and some ups and downs that went with those guys, but I really appreciated the time with them. and the goods and the bads. There's some good time dudes. So yeah, fun stuff.
How old were you when you became a soup?
Let's see, I became a superintendent when I was 21.
Wow.
And part of the reason I could do that was I was counterphobic. And so, and plus I had seen some of the guys do some things they should not have done. So me, I'm just like, were you the one that gave me all that shit there during the welding? Or you the one that gave me all that shit there while I was a janitor? Oh, wow. Life comes full circle, buddy. You're working for me now. We're going to work this shit out right here. That makes sense. Next thing you know, I'm in charge and they're not, and we're squaring up. Okay, we are working it out. I'm in charge and you are not, and that only went so good. But at some point, I had to stop it because it wasn't conducive to any progress. But it sure was a lot of fun to do it. You just tell, just as I'm smiling right now, the counterphobic things, like it's in there, man. It's like it's evil that wants to come out. So, go through all those processes and do all those type of things with the guys. And but for me, they would send me guys on my crew, and I'm this 18, 19, 20-year-old, and there were some 40-year-olds on the crew, and I've had some kind of encounters with these guys. They send me 3 40-year-olds, and I'm a 20 or 21-year-old, and a lot of people don't realize there's 18 kinds of prejudices. A lot of people think there's only 1 or 2. That's naive. There's 18. Okay, age prejudice is a thing. So when you're young and competent, all they say is, "Well, you're young, you're stupid, you're nothing." Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. Just because I'm young and you put me in a category, that's age prejudice. Mm-hmm. You don't really know me yet. So they're sending me these 40-year-olds, and they're like adult children, and they're like, "Hey, Rick, we're working for you, man. This is ridiculous. Wait, how'd they put you in charge? Somebody die?" I'm like, no. Are you done? And then it kept going and going. And usually I'd have like a few human sacrifices on the crew. So 3 of them would come out and they'd get done talking. I just wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, "You ready? Ready for what? We're going to work today. 8, 10, 12 hours. Like, yeah, sure, Rick. Rick, we're gonna drag you down. Make sure you get in trouble. We're gonna make your job run over on hours." I'm like, let the games begin, cowboy. Next thing you know, I have to take one of them. I tell him to sit in the truck. I said, "Look, you in the truck." "Well, no, Rick, I'm going to work." "No, you in the truck. I'm going to pay you 8 hours on my job, and you and me are going to go see the old man at the shop. Well, you just sit in the truck. You're paid for 8 hours. And you and I, when it's time to finish up today, when me and these other 2 clowns get done working, I'm going to take you back to the shop, and you and me are going to talk to the old man." So we do that and get back to the shop. And Tom, the guy, the owner of the company that, had the janitor talk with me, he couldn't believe it because most people would tolerate these people. They'd be, "It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Who cares? It's all about the Benjamins." I'm like, "It ain't all about the Benjamins. You got bad behavior, and you either fix it or get off my job." So you take them back to the shop and send me another guy. So these people are getting freaked out. They're like, why does Rick do that? Because we're not putting up with these people's bullshit. I mean, look, we're here to work. We're not here to get a paycheck. Getting that paycheck is so selfish. When you have the spirit of, I want the paycheck without the work, man, you have to understand what you just did. And this right here is everywhere. It's really about what you do to get the paycheck, not just getting the paycheck. So
we came up with a tool last week. Actually, I mean, you had it for a long time. We just put it on paper, which is the idea of dirty labor versus clean labor.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk about both. We can start with dirty labor first because that's the story we're already in, which is, can you explain to us how you would define dirty labor?
Yeah. And what's cool, Edy, as we talk, I didn't even realize I had all these maps in my head. Mm-hmm. So as you and I talk, we end up having, and then these maps, you basically put it to the board. We have a new map. So we're talking about dirty labor and clean labor. So kind of the definition of that is kind of what we spoke of just a minute ago. Wanting to work and to get paid and to earn your money, that's like the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's clean labor.
It's clean labor. Mm-hmm. It's like it's right and wrong. You're supposed to earn your paycheck, and then when you earn it, when you every Friday, you earned it, and you're hoping that you're in a position that you're deserving of a future raise, because when you start working on your next phase of a raise, you're actually working beyond your pay. A lot of people say, "Well, look, I'm just going to work at X level." To get the raise, if the current level you're at is level X, you have to be working on level Y to get the next raise. So you got to be working a little harder than you should to get the next raise, because why would you get a raise if you aren't doing anything different?
Yeah.
So
So in clean labor, you're being efficient, you're being loyal, you're showing up, you're trying your best because you know that that leads to promotion, it leads to benefit, it leads to all of the, it's a mutual benefit both to the employer and the employee because you are in clean labor, you're essentially you're giving your all. And then you get the paycheck as well, but there's actually a forward progression to that, is what I hear you saying.
And what's happening is that people start to see which column you're in, the red, yellow, green columns, or the clean labor, dirty labor, and you disclose this daily. When you're a leader and you back up and watch people's behaviors, just like the janitor story where he set me down, it's like, why would you do this in 3 hours, Rick? It's a 3-hour job. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. I don't need you to watch me do this. And 3 other people screwed him and charged him 8 hours for it. And he knew it, but they were janitors. So he just didn't pay attention to it. He just knew their low level. Well, there'll always be a janitor because they behaved wrong. I was a janitor that behaved right, and then I became a mechanic and became a pipe fitter and a welder. So there's so many consequences happening here.
So with dirty labor, you end up work pacing, is what I hear saying. Something that should take 3 hours takes 8 hours. And it actually, it feels like it benefits the employee for a little bit, but it actually deteriorates really fast. It definitely doesn't benefit the employer, but it actually hurts both sides.
It hurts both sides, and you lose trust. There's a thing here called a trust score at PMI. And you'll almost never hear about the word trust. You're going to hear welder or fitter or make money, college degree positions. But trust score matters. So when you have a high trust score, people come towards you. When you have a low trust score, people move away from you. And then what happens is you end up in the caboose with all the riffraff people bitching and complaining about how bad everything is and how it should be. You know, it's amazing. You know, I tell people all the time here, I'll get in a meeting with them, they'll be complaining about a problem. And you just let them keep complaining. And somehow they think their complaining is a solution. No, you're complaining and you're waiting for the fix-it fairy to show up. Okay, so they think complaining is fixing. Well, no, you're complaining. You're a whiner. And what I'm sitting here trying to rotate, you can take people, the whole world knows what's wrong. There's not a problem with that. But all the money's in taking the wrong and making it right. So you can sit and listen to people chronically complain, make a list out, and be successful. Okay, but you will be mad along the way because while they're over there unencumbered complaining, you're doing it. And there's a resentment building there. So all these things tie together.
Jocko Willink calls it extreme ownership. He wrote a book on it, and he talks about just the understanding the problem and then coming up with a solution and then executing on that solution. That's leadership. He's like, but when you don't have extreme ownership, you find the problem and then you report the problem. And what it does is it makes the leader, sometimes the founder, have to be the problem solver. And so you work for the employee.
Yeah, that's right. You pay them and you work for them.
Again, landing on this dirty labor column of, for the reds and the yellows, you end up having to problem solve because the reds and the yellows aren't hitting the go button on some solutions. Can you define red, yellow, and green? I know that you were sitting in your C12 meeting with a few other CEO founder types, and it was an aha moment for that group. You know, having a red, yellow, green score. It's very simple. It's just colors. You know, back to kindergarten in some ways, and yet that's a really big story that you can tell. There's a lot of tells that score system tells, right? So yeah, can you tell us about it?
It's a very simple way to lay it out and to score it. And we don't worry about 100% accuracy. You know, we're looking for about 70% accuracy on the red, yellow, green behaviors. And in power mechanical, some people give people 6 months to figure them out. We're going to grade you every 7 days, red, yellow, or green behind the scenes. You won't know exactly what we're doing. We're going to take 2 of our employees and score you red, yellow, green every 7 days. Why would we keep you for 6 months when you're not going to make it here? So the smart people, the really caring people, like, hey, great, I'm going to give them a year to see if they can make it. Here you got 7 days, then 7 turns into 14, 21. We'll cut you loose at 21 or 28. Why? This isn't for you. You're going to get hurt here. You're going to get, this is spun up a little at a level you're not really rated for. So instead of me persecuting you and picking on you each day, you just go over, don't say it, Rick. There are some companies, there are some companies in Tidewater. So for example, 2 streets down, there's a pink building down there. It's painted pink. It's beautiful pink. It's almost like hot
Beautiful pink.
It is a beautiful pink building, and there's opportunities down there in that pink building for people to work at, and there's a lot of people that go down there. So what happens for us is if you're having trouble making it, we're going to offer you the opportunity to go down to work at the pink building, and we won't get much further into that because that'll not be conducive to a professional conversation. Okay, there's an extended version of that. We're not getting the extended version, but hey, they got opportunities down there at the pink building for you, buddy. Or we'll give you a pink dress here. So just real quick on that, we have people come to us all the time, and one of the easiest things to measure in our business is welding inches per day. It's extremely easy to measure. So, for example, the power mechanical, my green people get somewhere between 60 and 100 diameter inches a day of welding. That's just how we do it. Well, we hire people all the time, and they come in and get like 16 inches per day or 20 inches, basically two 10-inch pipes or, two 8-inch pipes or whatever. And they're talking about they're really good. Just imagine for a second the difference between the two. One crew does it laughing, cutting up, having a good time, 60 to 100 inches. This is a little bit like the Jocko Willink Navy SEAL thing. This is a select group of people, these greens. Okay? Well, the other people are trying to scam, trying to get by, but you can immediately notice who they are very quickly. So also the whittling still applies. Everything we're talking about is a whittling element. So back to the red, yellow, greens. So when people come in, we're looking for the red, yellow, green behaviors. So what we'll do is give them each week. I tell everybody, give them one contest per day to test them. One of the early on tests is if I'm talking, are you writing? There's a sign downstairs that is put downstairs that, what does it say? The longest pencil, the shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. Okay. Well, so if I'm talking and you're over there going, yeah. Well, how's the yeah going to work if you didn't write it down? Very simple test. That works. And next thing you know, and then when we're done talking, the person would say, what number order do you want me to execute those? Well, you're talking green talk here, buddy. Well, the other person's having a social performance conversation. The red is, I want to connect and kind of be clever, maybe be a little bit deceitful. And let me just stop for a second and say, everything we're about to talk about is going to sound tough and rough. But what I found is people are coming from weak or mentors. They've been around, the environment's not good, or their leader was bad. They've had 5 jobs that were no fun. And I come here and tell them, this is going to be a great place to work.
Most of the time, they haven't even known mentors. They've known leaders or bosses or technician bosses, but they've never really actually even known what mentoring really is.
Yeah, so they're a little bit tainted and jaded. So I get it. So I'm being a little bit tough because I'm a person of extremely high standard on labor, but I don't want this group to think if you're red or yellow, you're a bad person. We've got to get you out of this tainted, jaded, bad employment situation and get you to move forward. And again, if you're with a bad crew, you can either become them, like we talked about earlier, the weak leaders. You can either follow the weak leader and get in trouble and all that stuff, or you can, while you're there, learn some stuff and then ask for a better leader later. Okay, so
you said it in session 1. You said, people hurt people. And so you have leaders who are users and ruiners who have used and ruined the people that are currently coming in sometimes. And so those people then are going to only know that system, which is how to use or ruin others. Yeah. And so our hope at PMI is that people would actually want to come over to the green side of things, of going, hey, you've had people leaders who have been for themselves as they use you or ruined you, or leaders who can be for you. Yes. And that for you is the calibration of support and challenge, which is still, it's not real cuddly or touchy-feely, let's have a hug out. It's like, hey, there is work that needs to be done. There's going to be stretch goals. There's going to be clear deadlines, but also people should be coming alongside of you to train you if you want trained, to support you, to give you time, to invest that time in you if you need it or want it. So your goal, as you're talking about this, and it's a tough message, is we want people to be green. We're for them.
We're for them, and we're high support, high challenge. And with me, I have this extremely high expectation for committed labor, which is a little bit ridiculous sometimes. I'm still going to hold that thought and not give up on it, but I have to be very careful sometimes. It's almost unrealistic sometimes to think everybody thinks that way. So just to stop for a second, we're not talking about judgment here. We're talking about where you at, how do you fit in, and can you move from red to yellow to green. Because if you're staying red and yellow, that's going to affect your family's income, pay, and your opportunity right there. There's so many people that are at odds with their job. It's like you're arguing with your job. You're arguing with your boss. I mean, you didn't think this through. Now, I benefit there because I'm a 6. The loyalty matters. So I've been, I did a lot of what's called selling my boss versus telling my boss because of my, the fact that, I want to be in alignment and want to be nice. And I'm a bit of a pacifist. I was really nice about selling. Now, occasionally I got out of line and a couple people reset me on that pretty well. But usually I was communicative and careful and could work with you and get you to, I could attempt to persuade you. And if I, not in a clever way, but with a data persuasion. And okay, let's try this. And so I would sell you, not tell you. A lot of people don't realize it. When you're at odds with your work and you're arguing with your boss or you're telling your boss they're screwed up or whatever, you're ruining your money. You have no idea. It's amazing in America. People are taught to hate their job. Wow, good luck on that. I mean, I never hated my job. I mean, when you hate your job, you hate your income source. That's going to affect your family. I don't even understand the principles of this being at odds with your job and hating your job. But it's everywhere. People are taught it. I was taught it as a kid. I'm from Indiana. There's a lot of union stuff there. I was taught steal tools, steal time. Don't work. To try to get away with stuff. And they were teaching me this as a kid. I'm like, is this real? I mean, is that how you do it? Yeah, man. You try to get over on people. Try to take it easy. I remember them bragging about playing cards in the lunchroom for getting triple time on a shutdown and just sitting in there playing cards, laughing about we're making all this money. Well, no wonder cars are so expensive. I mean, a car right now, if it costs $50,000, probably would cost $10,000. That's a joke. Okay, so but I heard that. I'm like, wow, why are we talking this way? So all of these things are happening that I had to somehow defy and say, why is that? So instead of going along with the cheat, scam, steal conspiracy, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Something is wrong here. So
you defied it. And now in this season of your life as you're leading a company, you're defining it. And that definition of that is not a verdict. It's not a judgment. It's a diagnostic.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, it's red or it's yellow. They've come from other places. People bring all of their story into even their work story into PMI. And you're going, okay, maybe they've been led by users or ruiners, which are reds and yellow leaders in their life, but not by developers. And so that's the difference, right? So red, yellow, and then green. Green people are people who are the clean labor, they're builders, they're developers of others.
It's like in the shop, the guy walking past me looked at my welding, told me to set that machine up. He is a builder leader. But he wasn't just going to pick me up and do everything. He wanted me to earn the right to receive his leadership because he had seen many of me's. And he's just like, nah, looks like a lot of work. Nah, I'm not going to pour into you. But all at once, he started pouring into me, but he was testing me to see if I was worthy to be poured. Why would he take part of his life and pour into me? He wanted to make sure I was a worthy person to be poured into. Okay.
Green Bob.
Yeah, pre-Bob.
Green Bob, right?
Absolutely green Bob. Yeah, love Bob. Wonder if Bob's still alive. He's awesome. His name's Bob Beavis. And Bob's a good dude. Bob covered me several times. The best way to describe it. So
one of the things that we were talking about too with dirty labor was that you can end up running projects into the ground, and so the people that win, where the most of the money ends up going is into labor of that process or that project, and not into the margin that you need to actually keep the company going. Can you speak to that at all with more context?
It's going to get messy. It's going to be rough. Yeah, so passionate about that. So just real quick, and we'll spend a little more time on the red, yellow, green. All we are is labor here. Ordering metal and ordering grinder stuff and billing jobs, that not much trouble will come from that. It's the labor. Red and yellow labor, there's no money in it. I mean, it's like make 1% margin. Green labor is like 15% margin. I mean, it's unbelievable. But as the 80-20 rule starts coming into play, there's one green for 4 of the reds and yellows. And not a judgment way. We got to talk people into better behavior. But if you come to me red or yellow, I'm going to notice you're slow. You got work pace. You're not organized. You kind of don't care. You got a person next to you that's not being developed. Why? Because you're a user leader or a ruiner leader. Your mantra is, it sucks, don't try hard. So on the labor, there's 4 stories as of yesterday of this week. There's 4 tribal stories happening. I'll just cover them real quickly because labor is everything. And just watch how this works. So Matt Causey, outstanding guy here, mentored by me. Not much work to do there. Like you pour to that person, he takes it and runs with it. So I'm proud to say he was a mentee of mine, but at the end of the day, he was not a lot of work to do. He wanted to go up the hill, and he did. Very proud of him. He's come so far here.
Yeah, Matt's a beast, which is also a tell of like there is a little bit of people kind of show up sort of ready, right? Like your ultra greens, there's something in their makeup already that you're like, man, I sort of inherited them, and then I can take them a little bit further.
Yeah, you can't take credit for them. When you're dealing with green people, you didn't build them. You're just blessed to have them. But you got to be careful not to ruin them, because if a green gets with a very social leader, or a very unfocused leader, they'll become disenchanted because what they see is this is a social sport, not a performance sport. And they're going to go, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm into social, and if you want to go get a drink on Friday and have a good time, I'm cool, but I'm at work today.
We have to win first before we can, champagne's for winners is what they say in Formula One.
You see it? But I'm just saying, you see, for me, they put me with different leaders, and I'm just like, I'm good. I'm good. How many weeks I'm going to be with this leader? That's not a problem. And I'll be talking to Tom or whatever. It's like, whatever you need me to do. I said, but as soon as we're done this job, can I get back over with Bob or Ronnie? And like, sure, Rick. I'm like, not a problem. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm okay with being with such and such over here. But as soon as this job gets done, can I get back over? Because they were going to affect my career. Okay, and a lot of people are like, no, it's all about Friday's paycheck. No, it isn't. Every day, if I learn a cupful per day, if you take that times 365, it's a huge quantity of learning.
Mm-hmm. When the 1% cup.
When you're with absolutely. When you're with these weak crew leaders, you're not learning nothing. Everything's a get by moment. Mm-hmm. Look, I got one life to live. I still remember my wife and my daughters at home waiting for me to become someone. Okay, they're counting on me, and also the fact that my dad wasn't present. You can't be a bad dad. That right there. When we're not going to get too much into that, but there's a lot of that out there in America where the father has either left the family, betrayed the family, whatever, and there's all kinds of complexities come with that. So I just didn't want to be that. I've been so we got to be thinking about every day being an ongoing learner, being around people that teach ongoing learning versus get by. Mm-hmm. So
you're telling us about Matt, the 4 labor.
So Matt Causey. We got this job to machine some missile tubes for some submarines. And, so cool job. Everything's great, So Matt Causey's busy. So he turns some guys loose on them, and they're doing them, and they're not going real well. And, we get into the 4th missile tube, and counterphobic Rick kicks in like, hey, Matt, look, let me help you out. One more like this, and you're going to take all those missile tubes and drop them off in the street over there and tell them to get lost. Okay, this is ridiculous. And what Matt does is he does what Matt always does. He rallies around and goes, I'm doing the next one myself. Now he's super busy already. And it's like, man, I'm frustrated, but I don't know if he's exactly what I want. I got this one. Thanks, Matt. Then we hire out of nowhere a green guy. So, Matt Causey takes the green guy. Matt Causey knows what green guys are. He takes the green guy and he partners with the green guy. And so the missile tubes before were taking 600, 800 hours to machine. Well, Matt gets done with it, calls me on a Saturday at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Just want to let you know I finished that missile tube, Rick. I'm like, well, how do we do with some green leadership? About 350 hours. Welcome to America.
200%.
Welcome to America. And most people don't have the courage to have these conversations. This is everywhere. This is unbelievable. And then we're building some covers for some rental boilers, and we have some performance data from the past with the previous crew leader that there was a very smart, clever crew leader, but not not a people developer. He was kind of a fun. He was a 7. So everything's fun, happy. But there was no apostles built from that guy. Okay, but the covers were good, and I respected it. He was here. Well, the covers were built for like 475 hours. Well, Matt's busy and Jeremy's busy, so we got some other help here down line. Well, they're taking currently 600 to 700 hours to make them. I can go on this path for a while. This is what happens when you're unaware and friendly. The more people you have and the more resin yellows you have, you're slowly putting yourself out of business and you don't even know it. I mean, you do not want to be down line of us competitively.
Yeah.
And while you're feeding your reds and yellows, we're going to eat you up and put you out of business and first thing we're going to do is take your green talent and break your heart. And we're going to leave the reds and yellows there. That makes sense?
Rick, this is not a story of the bottom line and making more money for you.
It's awareness.
It is, you're talking about the awareness of the leader, the awareness of the labor person, right? The technician, and the benefits of actually leaning into clean labor as a behavior of extreme ownership, as a behavior of being for the people around you, and even for your employment. Which at one point you were talking about, hey, why wouldn't you want to see the people that you work with not being at odds with your employer or your job, which is where your income comes from?
Yeah, if you're here to make money, why are we doing this? It's madness. People become entitled and argumentative. Thankfulness is out the window. Relationships don't really matter. Let's argue. No, hang on. Let's just for a second stop all the madness and get our relationship together. I don't care if you're a feeler or a direct kind of in your face person or a thinker. Let's all get to the same target. We've got a family at home and that's waiting on us to do good here at work. So if we can, with all of our differences, if we can all work through that and come together, instead of having 600-hour jobs, we can have 300-hour jobs, and there's money for all of us there.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be two types of people watching this, and I think this is an important moment. One, there's other leaders that are going to be watching this. That what is the next practical step, right? We have this tool called Devin, right? Dissatisfaction plus a vision plus the next practical step, right? So what is the next practical step for the leader watching this? And just so that you know, I'm going to ask you, what is the next practical step for the technician watching this as well, right?
So the first thing is take a look at the idea of the red, yellow, green, because everybody's different, just like the 5 voices and just like the Enneagram. But we've reduced the labor to just start off with red, yellow, green. Now they all have Enneagram numbers and 5 voices. But what we're looking for is the people that come in green. You can apply stuff to them very quickly. They can take off and run, and they're competent. And right now I'm thinking of it. We got a new guy here, name of Jason. Thank you, Lord. It's unbelievable. I mean, why did I get him? Look at me as a president right now. This guy's only been there for 6 months. I mean, why would I care? Because my entire future is based on these flaming green people. Plus, it isn't about the money. It's about the joy of the work. When we're dealing with the green, we're interactive, we're joyful, we're connected, we're smiling. What are you doing? What's going on? Reds and yellows, negativity, don't like it. Oh, I'll do it if you make me. So there's a lot of people don't realize that as you encounter more reds and yellows, you lose your joy. So the idea here of thinking this is okay, do yourself a favor and help the reds and yellows get to green, because if not, you can get yourself an addiction to cover it. You're going to need some alcohol and some medication to cover all this pain while you collect up your money. People all the time talk about being successful in America is complicated. Yet when you win the money game, you lose your joy and start to lose your spirit a little bit. So there's more to it than just the red, yellow, green. It's the idea that the more greens you have and the more greens that are around you, the better you feel about coming to work. In our business, I'm 63. I can retire right now. I'm only here for the greens. Otherwise, if this place was all reds and yellows, I'd sell it and leave. I mean, that's just where I'm at. This isn't about the money. I can leave right now for the money. I already have the money. I've been working 80 hours a week for 45 years. Okay, but I'm here for the greens. They're just a blast.
It's funny. Even if you weren't the founder, you could still retire.
Yeah, it's just, and plus, I'm not here for a job and my money. I like being around these people. Every day, amazing things happen. They face adversity. They come together. There's respect going on. I'm like, what can I do for you? I'm sitting with a guy yesterday. A lot of people don't realize that the language that you use with people matters. So when I talk to people, I just did an interview yesterday and stole a guy from another company. He wasn't sure. He actually took a job somewhere else. I said, well, just come and meet me. He's like, well, I'm already set. I said, I get it. You already picked a job. It's not a problem, but we haven't met yet. I said, just come on over here and spend half an hour with me. He's like, okay, sure. He said, but I'm already committed. I'm starting Wednesday. It's not a problem. I said, I'm going to be plan B for you. He comes over here and we're talking, and I talk about, let me tell you about Craig Williams. And Craig Williams was green from day one. Craig Williams was hired at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, worked 24 hours the first day with me when I was on the field. 24 hours straight his first day. And he's just like, is this real? Oh yeah, this is real, Craig. Get on board with this. And he did. He got on board. He's been there for 38 years. He's had 38 raises. Never asked for one, and never less than $1. So I'm having this little talk yesterday, like, we can talk about welding and fitting and being a service tech. I said, but let me talk to you about how it works here. I said, I'm going to let you meet Craig, and you can ask Craig if he had 38 raises without, having to quit to get one. I said, so imagine if you're here for 10 years, I can guarantee you right now, if you're green, you get at least $1. So you're going to be making $10 more an hour, which will make you the highest paid person in your field in Tidewater. See the different language? I didn't say, here's a job for you. Good luck, Sparky. What I said was, if you behave in this green, this is where you're headed. I mean, Craig Williams is $38 an hour plus up in his pay scale. But see the differences? And if you're red or yellow here, not a problem. I'm going to probably try to give you a no raise or 50 cents. You're going to get what's called a get by raise, buddy. Why? I don't trust you and our relationship is fragmented. It's not a problem. I'm just going to give you just enough money for you not to quit. But this guy over here, I'm going to be feeding him $1 and $2 an hour raises for the next 10 or 15 years. By the way, he's leaving the other job today and coming here.
Welcome to PMI.
But you see it. And so what I did was I used the Enneagram, the 5 voices, and my thing, because there was a spirit moving between the two of us. And he's like, this guy cares. And I told him about our mentoring. I looked up on I have all these charts on the wall in the other room. I said, this is what we'll do for you. I said, it might be confusing today. I said, you're going to probably be a great technician. I said, but how about great technician with great human being that understands himself and can take that home to his wife and family? This was a guy. I'm from the guy tribe, so sometimes our language get a little weirder. I'm from the guy tribe. That's not going to get weird in our conversation. He's a guy. Well, he's got a girlfriend. Someday he'll probably have children. And imagine, just like the Enneagram, your children vary in their behaviors. You and I can mentor to this and celebrate the fact they're different than the other kids. I mean, there's so much more to it that's going on than just making money on Friday. So back to the red, yellow, green. This right here will turn into like 87 sessions because as you talk about it, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes. Red, yellow, green, it's not even up to you. It's not up to the judge. It's up to the facts. It's up to the worker. Right?
It is. You pick which category you're in. And ugly is in red. It's no fun. You're going to be in the caboose with all the people bitching and whining about how bad it is in America. Okay, or you can move yourself to yellow or green because America is just fine. America don't have a problem. It's the people that lug the system down that's got a problem.
Why don't we end on the message for the technician then? So for the leader, it's put a process in place for a relationship. Let people tell you who they are and decide that, right? And then actually engage with the difficult behavior, right? Whether it's putting them in the truck for 8 hours and then talking about it, we're still going to talk about it, right? We're going to engage the difficult behaviors. Patrick Lencioni says that all the time. He's like, part of being a good leader is learning to engage the difficult behaviors that are undermining the tendency that's undermining those technicians or leaders, influence, right? Their life. But what about for the technician, right? They're working in their whittling season. They have a decision to make whether they're going to be red, yellow, or green. What's your message to them?
So, we speak in tribal story. Jesus teaches us this. We don't tell you right and wrong, just like the missile tubes. It's a tribal story, right? You can figure out on the missile tubes which side's right and wrong, right? We do that all day long here. It's a tribal story. This person was green and behaved this way. This person was red, behaved that way. Which one's better? It's your pick. So we're going to continue. We want to speak in tribal story. And, sometimes people will come to us green. I have to be very careful they don't get under a user, ruiner, leader. You see that this is like when people say that, hey, it's all about the welding, the fitting, or the job. Well, I would say that's 99% wrong. It's all about the Enneagram, the 5 voices, the red, yellow, green behaviors, and then you place everybody because so many people are improperly placed. And why? Because you're the boss. You can tell them what to do, right? Well, if you're a boss and you're a user boss, I right now have a problem with my 8s ruining the 6s. And they don't even mean to. The 8s are like, look, get this done. Quit talking to me so much. What's all these details for? And so I've got one 8 here who's burnt through 3 6s. And finally I sit him down and said, look, you want to talk about this? It's like, you realize what you just did? Man, Rick, I'm having trouble with this group of people. I'm like, really? Dude, I knew what was going on before you even knew what was going on when I placed the guy with you. And you're arguing with the 6s because you're using gut type approach in a head type environment. And the head type people, one of the reasons they're like that and they're a fear type is because they've met a lot of people like you that were really direct with them, mean to them. So the more details they have protects them from you, boss man. You see that? So I said, what you got to do is spend an extra 10 minutes with them on the details, and they'll take off and run with you. Because it was really breaking his spirit. And I needed him to go through that because I just took his sixes, put them on other crews, and it went, poof, this blossomed. He's like, what's happening here? Why is it they were with me and they were trouble and they're over here, they're doing great? Well, there it is, buddy. Somebody knows more than you here. That makes sense? I put him with you to learn. But you got to, when you have a 6, take a little extra time with them. You don't have to do it with the 8s and the 7s. You can do, but with the 6s, they want clarity.
Yeah.
Make sense?
There's an invitation there as we close today. The leader's furnace ultimately is an invitation. The leader's furnace is an intent. It's a journey. It's a process. And you have to opt in or opt out of that leader's furnace when you have.
Can always, there's the pink buildings available for you at all time. Like the Navy SEALs, you can ring the bell anytime at PMI.
Or you can go to the pink building and ring the bell.
The pink building and ring the bell. It's right down the street. It's flaming pink.
Thanks for today. Appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you, Edy.